All right, moving on to part 2, chapter 1, the family, studying family. Trying to be so obnoxious this time with my advancing on the space bar. Sorry about that last time, guys. Anyway, where'd we go? Studying families, 1.3. It's pretty short. Hang with me here. Okay, so there's some difficulties in studying families, right? We have to know the background. Have to know the facts. We have to know the culture. We have to know the language. We have to know the difference between a correlation and a cause. And we also have to acknowledge that we all come from some sort of family, and so therefore we have a bias, possible bias. For sure we have a bias. We are definitely biased. No doubt about it. All right, so what does bias mean? Well, this means the tendency to impose previously held beliefs and interpretation of facts. So we see things through our own lens. Now, we can work hard to overcome our bias. We can have others help us see our bias. And so there's ways to, nobody can be unbiased. So there are ways to still do research and know that bias is going to be a part of it. There's many sources of bias and it just can't be eliminated completely. We cannot be completely objective. We are subjective. We are full of our own ideas, our own experiences. So we've set up some tools to help with that, and that's a peer review process. Have other people in the field look at it. And when you do your dissertation, you need to have other people look at your dissertation who are not a part of your school, because there could be biases in a program and in a school as well. All right, so how can we study families? Well, the easiest way is a survey, okay? So we have identical questions being asked to many different people, maybe in multiple languages, from multiple cities, multiple towns. That would be a really great way to get an unbiased sample. And it's the most common way to get that data in sociology. It's cheap, and it's even cheaper now if we can do the surveys online instead of trying to ship them off in the mail and pay for postage and paper. And then you can do a random selection once you get your results in. And so there's just a lot of ways to work with surveys. We can also look at it over a long term or longitudinal. So coming to ask you questions when you're 5 years old, coming to ask you questions when you're 7, coming to ask you questions when you're 10, and just see how it goes over time. What's happening in your family over time. And this is nice because we can start to make sense that different things are causing different things and what's changing in the family. And it's very useful in doing, but it's very difficult, very expensive. People move, people die, and funding stops. And so I have a TED Talk for you that I just put in the module showing one of these studies. We can also do some in-depth interviews and observation. And this is fun because it's a time for the researcher to sit and have a one-on-one conversation, maybe get a little bit further information rather than just a survey answer. It takes a long time though, driving around or calling people or email correspondence. But this direct observation of the researcher can help figure out what's part of what's going on, answering some questions or exploring some possibilities. Another fun one is time use studies. And so I've done this before with some different classes where I give you a packet about what did you do this day? How did you spend your time? And it's a lot of stuff to record. You were driving, you were eating, you were doing the dishes, but it can really tell us about the patterns inside the work or the family, how you're spending your time. And it's very informal and easy to do, like a daily diary. But then we have to read them and interpret them and study them. So that also is a lot of work. All right, so here's some questions here. How much time per week do you spend on housework? So laundry, cooking, cleaning, shopping. Go ahead and answer that there in your mind. Maybe some of you will be none. 16 hours a week. Wow, it's a lot. Trend to watch, the big data. So big data, right? Who's collecting your information? When you click on that ad, when you follow that person on YouTube, right? Somebody's collecting your information. And this is a big dilemma right now. We want to have our privacy. Different countries have different levels of privacy data and laws. And the problem with this is there isn't consent. They haven't necessarily let you know that we are going to take the information from your click and sell it to so-and-so. But it is people doing research, maybe mostly market research, trying to sell things, but it is an invasion of our privacy and something we're trying to work through as a society. However, also, big data can also just look at official public records. You can look up my salary. You can look up any public employee salary through a public records database online. You can find telephone numbers. You can find marriage certificates. You can find arrest records. So there is a way to find out data for research. But this also raises some questions about privacy and ethics. And again, people are not giving consent for their behavior to be examined. All right, here's some review questions. The granting of a marriage license is an example of which institutional areas arenas interacting? The state and family, the state and market, the family and market, or religion and family? And for this one, can I highlight? No. I'm going to go ahead and, here we go. Whoops, question 1. Answer is A, this is the state and family. The video that we saw in the module specifically talked about how the state gives people who are married a lot of rights and duties and responsibilities. According to conflict theories, who benefits from family structures where women stay home and men work for pay? Who benefits for that, according to conflict theories? Well, that's going to be men. Men are benefiting. They're going off to work. They're leaving the laundry and the dirty dishes at home and the kids. They're going and doing their thing. The employers also benefit because they've got this man who is completely focused on what they're paying him to do. Rosa thinks her mother's best friend Maria as her aunt, and Maria treats Rosa as her niece. Rosa and Maria could be labeled as personal family. There's no blood, but they have made it clear that they care about each other and they're in that role together. According to recent feminist family theorists, which statement is true? Are they biologically determined? What's good for some women are good for all women. Men and women have very similar experiences of family life, or family lives are socially constructed. It's the society that you're in that tells you what this family should look like. Family types are socially constructed. Which theory sees people as individuals entering into mutual relationships to maximize their own gains? And this is the exchange theory. Just like you take your car to go get an oil change, maybe you're going to pay somebody to do that for you. You're exchanging there. And so there's a theory that states that that's what we're doing when we go into relationships with each other. For the purpose of contemporary U.S. Census, a family, and I hope this is up to date because this may not be totally up to date, but according to hopefully the latest census, a family must all occupy the same household. So it doesn't matter if we're legal, if we're personal, but if we all live under the same roof for the census, that's what they're looking for. How many people are living in this house? Because for the census, they're just trying to count people in an area. Number 7, the demographic perspective in family studies focuses mostly demographic. What are we talking about there? We're talking about family and household structures. And there we go. That's the end of Chapter 1, PowerPoint Part 2. Thanks for joining.